Better leave it to the professionals.
Last by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The feels not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
Bode.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Freaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. Had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
GM, welcome to Coffee with Captain. I'm Cap. This is episode 1173 of Coffee with Captain. Had a fun show yesterday, and actually some follow-up comments, thoughts on yesterday's conversation regarding movies and the such. Actually, a couple of not I guess coincidental, but before we get into all that, GM to all the early GMers: Zombie Rob, Thomas, Absolute Zero, Machiavelli, Web3 Warhead, Aspiring Nobody, Helpful Soul, Mike Carpenter. Appreciate you all in the chat. Block Mage as well. We are live over on YouTube as well as Abstract Video, X Video, and our OG source, the live audio spaces on X. Appreciate everyone warming the chat up with those GMs and the likes, the reposts, the bookmarks. All are greatly appreciated and don't go unnoticed. We got Hizzy, Satoshi Nakamoto, Eden out there. Eden, I think, is a new one. New. Looks like another one of the peers, maybe another one of the new Asian apes. I am getting a little bit of, I'm not saying Eden is one. I will have to do a little more research. Am getting a little bit of the, I don't know, fake. There's something like I appreciate that now you can link your Bored Ape Yacht Club profile in your X, and you can confirm it's a real holder. Although, and maybe it's just a cultural thing, and I don't, again, I'm not taking shots. I'm not saying these are not real members, but the follow and then the repeated, can I get a follow back? Like if you're really in the club, if you're here and you show up and you're in, I'm going to give you a follow back. And if there's anyone here that is a regular and I've missed, ask for it. I'll give you a follow back right now. I'm prompting the ask, but the repeated ask, hey, can I get a follow? Can I get a follow back? To me, that is a yellow, if not red flag that I don't know. It just something feels off when they ask for the repeated follow backs. Anyways, I'm going to end that rant. Matthew, this is a nice shirt. I actually just got complimented on this shirt. My girlfriend said the color looks good on me. So I missed Lisbon. It also hit me that while Lisbon was the one Ape Fest I've not been able to attend, I do have some, I have some socks. I have a couple of shirts. I actually did not, I don't know why, because I appreciate the apparel. I appreciate the merch. It's a nice reminder. I did not buy any merch from this, must have been the second Ape Fest in New York. The one with the white theme. I can't remember if that was the second or the first one. And then Jerry with the big calves ended up gifting me one of the white t-shirts. And I'm a big fan of that. I also did not buy any from Vegas. And I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't. I liked it. Why I didn't buy any, I don't really have a good reason. But GM Osiris as well, Dobbins. It is Taco Tuesday. And I do want to remind me, I want to come back and talk about the cigar box drop and how they alluded, how the examples they gave for how they're going to do allocations for the raffle. So if I forget, Dobbins, remind me to come back to that. But before we go there, another like BZ stats just continue to amaze me. Joey just shared in just 60 days, BZ's automated buyback system has already bought back close to $1 million worth of slabs, close to 10,000 collectibles. The liquidity layer for collectibles is here, BZ coded. I also saw that, there's now going to be, you're going to be able to take loans against these collectibles, which just makes sense. If we can take them against our monkey JPEGs, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to take a loan against your Snorlax or your Charizard Grail. Just makes sense. And before we get into all this, a lot running through my head this morning. I'm going to Buen dia, Captain. ¿Cómo estás? To Espanol. So that is good day, Captain. Estás. Muy bien. ¿Y tú? I need to work on more Spanish. I started talking to Grok when I was driving the Tesla, and it was like my personal Duolingo, and I've fallen off. So I need to get back on that. GM, Teacher Katie, and the Abstract Gang. We got Thomas over there as well. I'm on my end. It's showing media could not be played. Are you seeing? Is the stream coming through? Okay. Are we live on Abstract? Because it's showing on my end. It's just giving me a white screen, says the media could not be played. Could just be I need to refresh the browser. But let me know if it's not if we're not live over there for some reason. And yeah, again, a lot to get into this morning. A lot of jumping around. Some quick. No, it is not. Okay. Let me try to troubleshoot this just briefly and see if we can get. Yeah, it's saying sorry for the capitals. No sorries. So Teacher K says you can see me. Thomas, I don't know. Maybe it's a. Some of us aren't. It's just not working for some people because it is pulling the media from X video, and X video is live. We also have. I saw the Boston Tea Party drop the Doodles image in the chat. We should also hit on Doodles drop coming up soon. Speaking about rewarding their collectors and OGs, they're providing some priority to that. I don't know how I feel about just another open edition drop from Doodles, but we'll talk about it. I'm curious to dive into that. We'll at least hit on it. But before we get into too much on the, I don't have the title yet on X, but I changed the title on YouTube, and X video is, sorry, the tech issues throw me off. This is where, shout out to Payne, incredible producer, incredible person, but doing all this stuff live, and we get a bug, sometimes it throws me off, so appreciate your patience. GM456AD, the title, what Steph Curry's $1 billion shoe deal means for NFTs. It's not engagement baiting. We will get into that. Real fast flyover. because I know half of you tune in for my sports takes. Not half, more like probably 5%, but salute to those 5%. We're going to do something. I promise. I know I've teased it in past years. We've done some like just very casual, fun sports shows, nothing real serious. I am doing it. I'm going to take it serious. We are going to kick off a very serious sports show. I'm excited to share all that with you here soon. Not just a random sports show, but going to build similar to how we built Coffee with Captain. So once I go and say I'm going to take this serious, we're taking it serious. So for those of you that are sports fans, we're also going to be doing a World Cup bracket challenge via Underdog. So stay tuned for that. And also before I get into the sports take, Achilles, that I'd gotten used to the ape on Achilles, but the Pudgy Penguin hits well as well. So this guy's got him and Dort, the real collectors out there, quite the NFT collection. I'm going to get back to Mike Campbell in his take here in a bit, but in all seriousness, the important sports take that three of you tuned in for, the Browns are for real now. I saw someone put like $200,000 on the Browns not to win the Super Bowl, and that bet was to win $1,500. That's just dumb. If you need a banking connection, if you need a traditional finance connection, I can hook you up with my girlfriend. I mean, I can tell you that you can put a 12-month CD and get 3%, 4% on your money, no risk. So it's silly to be taking these year-long Polymarket or Kalshi bets. I actually go with that with the title. Is Polymarket a scam? Because some questionable activity coming out of this. Definitely more engagement baity, but real people are saying this. Real people are asking the question. So we'll lean into that here in a bit.
That's got to be a troll, though, Cap. Like that person can't seriously just put 200,000.
Oh, well,
so be a troll, right? Like,
I'm not saying
who's putting 200,000 knows that they could probably put that 200,000.
I would hope so.
Into the stock market or whatever, right?
Or they think there's going to be a Polymarket token, and so this is their way of like free volume. Like they think it's a guarantee to hit. So instead of making 3% in a CD, they'd rather make their 1.5% and show $200,000 of volume on Polymarket to position themselves for some future token allocation. That'd be my guess of what's really happening there. Risk Brian, GM, and happy birthday. I think I just saw on my feed that it's Risk Brian. I think that was what he was alluding to. A screenshot of his Twitter profile. If so, happy birthday, Risk. You we're very close to sharing a birthday with the legend Dort. Must be something about early June birthdays. Dort yesterday, Risk Brian today, my daughter tomorrow. Good group to be in. Yeah, he says thanks. So was his birthday. But before we get into serious stuff in the market's not great. We will, I guess, hit a market update today, but nothing too exciting to talk about there. We will talk about the Curry shoe deal. We will follow up briefly on yesterday's movie conversation, because I kid you not, I was listening to Theo Vaughn this morning, and it was a Nate Bargatze interview that took place earlier in the week before the last weekend's blockbuster hits. And I kid you not, they were talking about movies, and actually YouTube movies. And the one they used as the example was Iron Lung, which was one we didn't even hit on yesterday, was another movie produced by a YouTuber that had box office success early in the year. ICT, that is a fire that earns a follow back. You have I don't even know if it is a Malinois, but is that your dog? And if so, is it a Belgian Malinois? That will earn that'll earn a follow back. Love the doggo, and I don't need a puppy, but I want a puppy. I want another Malinois to roll with my dog Duke. Happy belated birthday too, by the way. The thing I've danced around, I haven't got to yet. The take is the Browns are legit. The Browns are, I think, doing a proper rebuild. Now, I say this acknowledging that they had not only arguably the worst trade in NFL history, they followed it up with, I think, unquestionably the worst contract in NFL history with Deshaun Watson. Can't go back and change that. They got to deal with what it is, same GM. So you can give the GM and ownership as much dings as you want for the Deshaun Watson debacle. That said, since then, I don't know if they've missed, man. They've been running There's some you might say they had the best draft this year. There's others might say they had the best draft last year. They landed the defensive rookie of the year last year. They just part of this Garrett trade is getting the defensive rookie of the year from 2 years ago. And while Jared Verse was drafted 19th overall, that was a loaded draft in 2024. And I think if they went back and redraft, Jared Verse is probably definitely a top 10, if not maybe a top 5 draft pick. So they get we'll say 5 to 10 range draft pick, not just a draft pick, but a confirmed legit player. Like they have a confirmed hit, and not only a confirmed hit, but Joey, I see you coming off mute. Is something going on with the audio? Same thing with Andrew. I don't hear either of them. My settings look correct, but I don't. Yeah, I heard Joey earlier, so we were working, but something. I wonder if something's off now. Joey, can you hear me? I can't hear Andrew either. It looks like both of them are talking. Audio changed. You can't hear Joey. Yeah, I don't know what changed. Check 1, check 2. Man, technology. I jinxed it because I complained about technology earlier, and I guess I'll do the old. Let's quickly change the input, and then we'll change it back. Check, check, check. Sounds like you're in a hallway. Sounds like I'm in a hallway. What in the world? Why? Yeah, literally everything is set up correctly here. Nothing has changed on my end. Unless, let me go check App Store. I mean, it shouldn't. It shows I'm on the most recent version of X. No, looks like a brand new one. Well, let's pull plug half out. Let's see now. Does that sound any better?
You're good. It's perfect.
Oh, you're back. That was it. Mayhem.
Yeah.
Mayhem. I know Mayhem just got a community member of the month, but you might be in the running for a second one here in June for the troubleshooting assistance. Greatly appreciated. Weird because I didn't touch the plug, but when it started the show just fine. But yeah, unplugging it, plugging it back in, that did the job. All else fails, turn it off, turn it back on. If you're hosting a show live and you can't turn it off, just unplug everything and plug it back in, and that's going to work 50% of the time. Audio not working on Twitter. Is it good now, Zonko? I think we're good.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna roll with it. Appreciate y'all bearing with me there. We're not gonna go back and reset everything, but I will just say the Browns, good deal. They yes, Myles Garrett, argue not just best defensive player in the league, arguably the best player in the league for a non-quarterback. That said, he's not a quarterback, and it's for a team that's rebuilding. It doesn't make a lot of sense to pay a non-quarterback $50 million a year. They had there was a game, someone used an example when they played the Patriots last year. Garrett had an incredible game. The Browns still got smoked. An edge isn't going to win games, especially when you're not rebuilding and don't have the core base. They're building a core base, very young, talented team. Really quite, now they could use some more. We'll see how the recent draft picks play out, and they picked up some new free agents on the line. We'll see how the line comes together this year. Probably could use some more offensive linemen. They definitely need a quarterback. But other than that, team is solid. Like it is, they are stacking draft picks, and I think a really, really good move. Verse is not as good of a pass rusher as Garrett. No one is. But he is an incredible run stopper for an edge. He was second in the league last year to run stop win rate behind only Max Crosby. And he was like third in the league. He's been third in the league in pressure since he joined the league. Like the guy is really good, younger, still on a rookie contract. They got 3 more years of control on the rookie contract. So I think I know Browns fans are there's like the emotional challenge because Garrett was widely loved in Cleveland. He wanted out. He may not ask out recently, but he asked out last year. Like the guy wants to go win. Be happy for Garrett. He's got a much better chance to win a title with the Rams than he did in Cleveland. And I know some people said, oh, they should have got another first rounder compared to like Sauce Gardner. Well, they did. They got 2 first rounders and a second and a third. And next year's first rounder it's a loaded draft class, more so than 2024. Not only did they get another first rounder in Verse, it's a known, like, could he regress? Maybe, but defensive ends, like once they've proven he can play at this level, like you have a known hit. So it's like there's no guarantee that draft picks are going to be a hit. You know, the Colts could swing and miss on both of their first round picks they got for Sauce Gardner. They're not going to miss on Verse. They could miss on the one next year, but I think it's a really good trade for the Browns, and probably I think actually better than the Eagles. The Eagles just got, it was known that AJ Brown was going to be leaving, going to the Patriots, and they got a first for him, but it's a 2028 first, which unless something changes, is not going to be nearly as good of a class as 2027. So yeah, I think the Browns are not getting enough credit for how they've been moving over throughout this rebuild. And the beauty of it is too, like, was Garrett going to help them win games this year? Maybe 1 or 2, but they don't want to win games this year. They want to tank. They want to be the best draft picks as possible next year to get a quarterback, to get Jeremiah Smith. Like, I think the Browns, and listen, I listened to some talking heads this morning, some analysts, and unanimously they thought Browns won the trade in the sense it was a good deal for them. They didn't win in the sense that it was a bad trade for the Rams, but one of the rare situations, a win-win in a trade because of where the teams are. The Rams are going all in to win it this year. Now, if the Rams don't win it this year, probably not a good trade for them. But there's a world where the Rams win it this year, and then next year, they even said this, not me saying this, the analyst said, Browns are probably the favorite to win their division next year. That's wild. I can't, like, how long has it been since the Browns have been a favorite to win the division? You got Lamar Jackson, probably potentially his last year in Baltimore. Burrow's not getting any younger. Rodgers is going to retire. I would hope, but yeah. Anyways, it is all things considered, I think a win for the Browns following a great draft class and things to be. There's hope. That's probably about the most you can ask for as a Browns fan is a little bit of hope and optimism, and there's reason to be hopeful and optimistic about the future following the draft and these recent moves. And before I jump into the continuation, we're not going to spend the all show on it like we did yesterday, but I do want to follow up with a few items regarding movies and new IP and what this means for Web3 native IP. I do want to follow up on that briefly, but before we get into that, I want to get to these hands. We'll go Joey since he was first, and we'll bring Andrew in here. Joey, what brought you up this morning?
Hey, what's up, GM? Yeah, the Rams. Is there a team any better right now across any sports in parlaying draft capital for impact players? Like what they've done in the last 10 years at moving draft capital to acquire players that make them a perennial contender has been incredible. Like they're like, they're what you want your team to be when you say like, we want to go for it.
Yep.
Right. Like they're like, you know what? We only have so much time with Matt Stafford. So every year we're going to try to just surround him with talent and make a run. Right. And they did that when they won the Super Bowl, and every year since they've been essentially trying to do that. And now they're the odds-on favorite. I think they're plus 800 to win the Super Bowl now with the addition of Myles Garrett.
Even less. I think it went down to like plus 550 after all the money came in following the trade.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they're like, not only the favorites,
they're to watch like what and I think, to be honest, they had to do something because McVay was not happy about the first round pick of Ty Simpson. Like, there's that video where like he's being interviewed or like asked about the.
I think that was
and you can just see how angry he is.
I don't think he was angry. I think that was all part of the bit. I think that was to just keep the goodwill with Stafford, and I think it was a bit. I don't think he was really angry.
I mean, I think maybe not, but I feel like as a Rams fan, like, why are we drafting Ty Simpson in the first round when we're trying to win a Super Bowl? Like, and there's other talent. Anyways, but I think it was a great trade for both. I mean, we both know the Browns aren't going to win right now, so like adding young players and more draft picks is great. The Rams are clearly going for it, and I want Aaron Donald to come out of retirement because he's still young, and I want Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett on that D line in Los Angeles.
Something about to happen. I shared it in a friend group chat yesterday. I said, watch Darnold come back now at like 3:00, and then by 4:00, I think it was Trey Wingo said, "So this is more than just a rumor. I can't say more now, but it sounds like there could be some real some real fire there where there's smoke. That would be fun to see."
AJ Brown going to New England yesterday was kind of shadowed by the Myles Garrett trade, but I mean, how good are the Patriots? If Drake May can continue to progress, and now he's got AJ Brown as his number. I don't even know who was the number one on the Patriots.
No, they traded for Dobbs.
It was like, I would say Stiggs was probably number one. Joey last year.
Oh yeah, but he's getting older now. So
yeah,
like,
no, I know. Then it was Butte from.
So adding AJ Brown to that team that was in the Super Bowl and clearly struggled offensively in the Super Bowl. I mean, the Patriots have to be the favorite coming out of the AFC, including what they did in the draft.
Yeah, no, I think Patriots Rams Super Bowl is very it's hard to predict injuries, but I think assuming health, Patriots Rams Super Bowl is very much in range. Would not be surprised at all. Mike's saying the Browns play the Broncos in the playoffs, and we might get the Drive 2.0. Andrew, GM. Speaking of Andrew, I did pin up. I think we both might be doing a little bit of work with Concordium. It is a sponsored post, but I did pin that up top. You don't need to repost it, but any love on that post. I've never bought anything. I'm not going to do that, but I certainly can shout out any partnered posts here on the show, and just would appreciate it. It helps me out a ton. Any engagement with that, likes, comments, bookmarks, etc. If you want to repost it, by all means. It's also just genuine. I do believe it is something important and something that's probably not being talked about enough. But full disclosure, it is part of an ongoing campaign we have with them. All that said, Andrew, GM, go ahead and take this whichever direction. Like, what brought you up this morning?
Super techie stuff on the Concordium stuff, but it's evolving AI agents, but it's super techie. Football conversation obviously brought me up. Patriots fan here, super happy with the trade with Brown yesterday. Obviously, long time coming. That was, stirring up last season, and obviously got it done in the offseason, which is super nice. That would have been super helpful last playoff run, but the O-line support wasn't there. So, it is what it is. But I also will say, Cap, we didn't bring this up, and as a fan, as an enjoyer of the game, I am so happy Odell's back with the Giants.
Yeah, I don't.
Just for like optics, and I think what he needs as a man, I think it's great that he's back with the Giants. No team loves you more than the one that drafted you.
Yeah, it's good to see. I hope he can get on the field. I hope he can make some sort of impact. I mean, even if he has a couple of nice highlight reel catches, maybe scores a few times, would be great. At the same time, I think what makes me sad is we may not see Malik Neighbors all year. Like, and he may never be the same. Like, I saw some of the highlight videos of him playing the celebrity softball game, and he's like barely it doesn't look good at all. And I think that the signing of Beckham, and they also signed Braxton Berrios, maybe.
Yep.
They brought in a few wide receivers. To me, that's a signal that Malik Neighbors is most likely not going to be playing by week 1. And it's just the signals. They haven't come out and said it's just a cleanup procedure. But I don't know, man. It's got me really concerned about his knee, more so than health, medical, surgery. All this stuff has gotten so good in recent years. I mean, people recovering from ACLs at record time. You still just never know when someone goes under the knife, and every injury is different. And this is probably the most concerned I've been over an injury that you first think, oh, they're going to be back for week 1, no big deal. Man, I think that that's where the Beckham signing, yeah, it's cool for the the OG vibes, and he's still. I mean, let's be real. I mean, he's way past his prime, and he's probably dust. But he's only 33. I mean, he's not. That's kind of ancient for a wide receiver, but I hope he can make an impact. Good place to return home to go out and.
Cap, he's got some. If you watch I know this is a completely different ball. It's it's obviously fun, but if you watch the flag football,
I saw.
Dude, Beckham's got some leaps still.
Yeah.
He's got some leaps. He's got some steps. He's got some less. His ability's still there. I mean, what it was when 10 years ago, I don't know, but like he's got some of the juice still. I think he's got some gas left in the tank. I'm interested to see what they do. Mind you, Stephon Diggs is still a free agent. I know he's got that court thing going on with.
No, he got dismissed. He's done. It's done. Yeah, I think he's
it's done. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do you think the Giants pick him up? Personally, I love to have him back in New England. I think he's a great number 2. I really do. I think he'd be great. I think he's a big locker room guy, big hype guy. I think I'm happy to have him back at the Patriots, but if not, I think maybe the Giants snag him too, because if you're right, Cap, they will need that support. They will need some number 2s if you don't have a straight number 1.
Yeah, I actually hadn't thought about the Giants for Diggs, but I do think he signed somewhere, and yeah, I think he's got more juice left than does OBJ. So, yeah, I think it'd be a good get for him. I was thinking Diggs to Kansas City maybe, but
no way. That's crazy. That's crazy if they do that. Where's Tyreek? Is Tyreek back with Kansas City? Still in Miami?
No, he's done with Miami, and he also is recovering from an injury, but he may not play again. Like he's now becoming like a full blown DJ in Miami, and apparently taking that serious as the next phase of his career. And yeah, he may not play again. I thought I was drafting early best ball season. I was drafting Tyreek as if he was going to go back to Kansas City, but I don't know. I think he might. I am now leaning more and more like he might just be done. But
I hate that.
Yeah. Yep. We will see. So shifting out of the sports convo. Stay tuned. More coming soon. I did finish I maxed out the Field General, which was a $3 super flex draft on Underdog. So 150 lineups in that, and excited to get. We're getting close. I mean, it's summer's here. Football's just around the corner, and looking forward to a fun year both in the NFL streets as well as the college football streets. All that being said, I do want to go back to yesterday's conversation. As I mentioned, couple points. One, I shared Mike Campbell's post up top, and they shared out yesterday following the conversation we had, and in particular, he was highlighting the hearing from Figgy, and that Figgy, went to film school, and that was kind of where he got his start. And I do think this is very, very relevant. I not come from that world, so I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know it nearly as well as Mike, but I think holds a lot of merit here. Mike says, I'm quoting Mike here, great discussion on Coffee with Captain this morning. I'm glad I had something to contribute, but also understand how Figgy is so valuable to the Board of Yacht Club and other side film school. I assume a directing track because the qualities and skills to direct on set are what I see from him. Delegation, decision-making, and setting the tone, the vibe that make people buy in. Delegation is trusting the people in charge, various departments, to do what they do. Steve Jobs did that as well. Decision-making is crucial on set. It needs to be fast and decisive. The pace is fast, and there's a lot of money on the line. The tone is set from the top down. On a set, the director, lead actors, department heads can make or break the experience, but it starts with the director, good or bad. I wholeheartely agree. I think the probably underrated Figgy's background, not just the success he had, in his Web2 ventures prior to coming and building in crypto, but even more specifically that background as a creative, and is the director experience, and that's what we've seen since he took the reins is fast decision making, skipping seemingly relentlessly, building in public as not just a meme, but very real. And segueing into the next part of the conversation, we will come back to that Theo Von, Nate Bargatze thesis on. It sounded like I know they've recorded it before yesterday, so it wasn't based off Coffee with Captain, but it sounded like they might have listened to Coffee with Captain, because very bullish on experiential retail, very bullish on live events, live marquee events, very bullish for, musicians, entertainers, comedians. And the one thing they said that I hadn't thought of, but he said even like preachers and pastors, and apparently you're seeing this, like they're like, now it's a big thing to do in New York, going to like Catholic mass, and people getting all putting their Sunday best on and getting back to church. Church has been like down only for a while, church attendance is my understanding, but having a revival as, again, in-person events, experiential retail is having a moment. And I don't think it's just a moment. I really think it is a massive societal shift, and we're going to see more and more and more of it. Back to the whole YouTubers making movies, they mentioned Iron Lung, excuse me, and just the idea of these not relying on the big studios. Almost, they used an analogy of, it's almost like, especially with Iron Lung, like it launched in a few theaters, and then he had a big YouTube following, and the fans basically called their local theater and said, hey, we want this. And it ended up expanding in multiple theaters and had, tremendous results. But it was like almost like ticket sales, almost like selling a tour. Like a comedian goes on tour, and they focus city by city to, drive awareness and marketing, advertising, and get people in the seats. Doing the same thing with movies, not just relying on, the historical, oh, you need a $50 million marketing budget, and you gotta play the game with all these movie theaters and these big studios. Like there's another path, there's another way. And I don't think we've seen the last of the indie films I don't think we've seen the last of the YouTuber or someone with a big social following to direct, produce, and make a big successful movie with new storytelling, new IP, and I'm here for it. So it was a good interview. I'm a Nate Bargatze fan, so it's one. If you're curious, I think it was recorded last week, but it's on Theo's channel. But bringing it all back to the Board Ape Yacht Club and experiential retail and sports, Steph Curry signs over $1 billion deal with Ning. I might be saying this wrong. I think it's Ning. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be very on brand, actually, if I'm mispronouncing a name of a business or an individual. But we were talking about how this focus on Asia and expanding to Asia has led to, I've probably gotten more Asian apes follow me in the last week than I have in the last several years with this push. Vera the ape doing some big things over there. Figgy going on tour, and then this is from Ape Oil here. I shared up top. Board Ape Yacht Club member and NBA legend Steph Curry has signed a historic deal with Ning in China. It's a shoe manufacturer. At the same time, we're seeing more Chinese apes join the club, and longtime holders show renewed excitement. Coincidence? Return to monkey, Steph, he says. This Ning, no stranger to the Board Ape Yacht Club. In fact, maybe one of the best activations we've seen yet from a end to end, as far as a major brand leveraging the Board Ape Yacht Club IP. They bought an ape early. They did an ape activation. I'm finding the link now so I can share it both on the screen as well as I'll pin it up top. So this is Ning bought an ape in 2022 and built one of the most complete Board Ape Yacht Club activations any brand has ever done. Here's the full story. I'll share that next. This is Vera sharing Ning was actually one of the first Chinese companies to buy apes into the Board Ape collection from 2022 to 2024. They again bought an ape, used the IP, did an activation in store, and you see quite a bit here. Here's the full story. I'll pin this up top. This is courtesy of Woogie. So Curry, 10-year endorsement deal, $1 billion plus, which, for some, a shock that he's leaving, first Nike and then Adidas to go to a relatively unknown, at least for here in the in the West, relatively unknown shoe manufacturer, but they're a I think $6 billion company. That said, go from $6 billion company to do $1 billion deal with an athlete. It's a pretty big deal. He goes on to say, but the story of Chinese companies in the Bored Ape Yacht Club, most have no idea. And Li Ning's Web3 journey actually started earlier than most people think. It was September of 2021. They auctioned off their first ever NFT at Poly Auction House in Beijing, a sneaker artwork featuring a digital signature from Dwayne Wade himself. It sold for $175K. It was the first time a Chinese sportswear brand ever sold a physical sneaker as an NFT. Nobody really talked about it, but behind the scenes, a plan was already in motion. The execution partner was Hana. I'm trying to pronounce that last name. I apologize. Please don't. It's just my my American ignorance here by inability to pronounce Asian names. A digital collectibles platform. Their CEO later revealed the full playbook. Step 1 was the NFT auction. Step 2 was convincing Li Ning to buy a Bored Ape. Steps 3 and 4 were still in the works. Step 2 landed on April 11th, 2022. They picked up this ape pictured here for 120 ETH, roughly 180K at the time. Became the first major Chinese consumer brand to step into Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's also worth noting that this ape was originally held by Charles Liu, the COO of Coinstar Capital, one of the most active crypto funds in Asia at the time. It wasn't a random purchase. It was a handoff with context. Then became the relay race. Greenland Group grabbed 8302. Medu grabbed 8848. Breo grabbed 1365. All these companies are still holding. Not a single ape sold. I think it was an eye-opener to me when went to Ape Fest Hong Kong, how much bigger Asia is into character IP than we are here in the States. Like every street you went down, you saw some sort of mural or some sort of art or something from Hello Kitty to Dan the Cool Man. I can't remember what collection he did.
Line Friends, Cap. They're constantly trying to find the new thing, the new stuff before the state gets it. It's almost kind of this unspoken rivalry, if that makes sense. The times that we've spent in Asia, specifically Japan and Korea, they purchased a lot of like Klano products, Klano plush, Klano pins, Klano t-shirts, tote bag exclusives, whatever it may be from the stores, merely off of like first interactions and like first feel. Whereas if you flip that on its head, in the States, this as well as in Canada, culture is different. You need at least like 4, 5, 6, 7 touch points to get people to buy something, to even check something out. They want to see who's doing it, why they're doing it, where it's being done, and all the intricacies, logistics of like that overall culture feel. In the APAC region, the Asia regions, it's completely different. They're just trying to find the new thing they think is hot and tell their friends about it, and vice versa. It's like they're constantly scouting, so they have no problem getting on something at the ground floor, getting it on something early. If people don't recognize it, for them, it's part of the fun. We also have to keep in mind that like some of those regions in Asia and APAC are very gambler heavy. In comparison to the States, there's more gambling per capita per person in those regions than there are in the States and some of the Western culture. So they're very, very risk adjacent to getting in stuff early, to throwing money at these things, buying that supply, whatever it may be. That's kind of the way they're wired, and honestly, that's why a lot of culture, especially consumer products and IP, stems from there, because their chances of taking risk is just a lot greater and higher than I think the States in certain capacity. There's also a couple agencies that exist in that region that are actually funded by the government, that have government grants, have government access, government pipeline investment to grow, scale, curate the next level of IPs. And like they have funded them not with like $10, $20, $30, because you can't do anything with that. Even tens of thousands, a little bit light. They have strapped them and funded them as in the government, to these agencies, to these products, to these teams with like 7 figures plus in terms of investment. So they're betting on the next era by strapping these teams that create IP and then scale IP in those regions to do the same thing that was done with Pokemon, Line Friends, Naruto, One Piece, whatever. So that culture there is pretty heavily obviously like that's what you said. But there are some things that like I've taken accord of expanding to Asia the last 6 months.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and it's also like the the types of people doing this. It's not just your internet entrepreneur. It's not just the younger generation. It's a lot of the movers. And at least again, my experience was in Hong Kong. Like I remember they had a big giant blow up of Curtis. Picture opportunity and kind of let the city know, hey, Ape Fest is here. It was where it was at the base of one of the tallest buildings in Hong Kong, and the owner of the building very into crypto, very into Web3, like support. Not just said, oh yeah, you can put it here because you're going to pay us a big check, but supportive of NFTs and like the types of conversations. It was just very different than the US. It feels like I felt to me like crypto technology in general. Every car on the street was some electric car. I think every Uber I got into was a Tesla or their version. And it seemed like they're about 5 years ahead of the US as it relates to crypto adoption and social acceptance. And you combine that with this deeply embedded love for IP and in particular character IP, pretty good combination. So I'm excited about the focus on Asia. I think it's very wise for all crypto native, well, all IP driven crypto native brands. I don't know if you were tuned in yesterday or not, Andrew, but Kalanos was one of the ones I was singling out as I think one of the ones that, the whole conversation was how these indie films having such success in the backrooms and Obsession are very bullish for NFT native IP because the masses are warming up to new IP, right? They're saying, hey, we don't want the 18th iteration of Star Wars. We want to come to see new IPs. We want new storytelling, and it's not easy. It's very hard, very challenging. Most that attempt to build globally recognized IP, they're going to fail, but someone's going to do it. There is going to be the next Obsession, the next Backrooms. That's not a horror flick, and I think it's part of the reason that these indie films and these are having success is they have an existing fan base, rabid fans who are helping get the word out there. It's spreading word of mouth. They're bypassing
the indie films as well, and some traditional ones. They're struggling to kind of, I guess, scale up monetization vectors or angles because I think it's something crazy. 60%, 90%, 80% of people on YouTube that consume content don't even follow some of these IPs, some of these brands. And they've recognized that as a huge issue because if they're not following, they can't stay in touch and obviously get driven down the funnel and all those sort of things. So NFTs and the collector as a persona, as a person, has become massively on the radar because that is taking place, that's taking form, and obviously that person increases the LTV of the brand and all those sort of things. They've also recognized as well that there has to be other avenues of pushing product or pushing collectibles, and they are trying out Roblox for those purposes as well. And they're also starting to integrate and figure out how to push, commerce, DTC through YouTube and those sort of things, because that stuff needs to get done for these brands to kind of stay in the game. Otherwise, just content for the sake of content doesn't do it anymore. It's kind of the saying of if everyone's a KOL, nobody's one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think content has reached a point where it's completely saturated. Everyone's got a show, everyone's got a pipeline, everyone's got this, everyone's got that. But how do you kind of win that war of attrition when it comes to content? Well, I think the answer is collectibles, to be honest. But obviously, we're heavily biased. I'm biased. You're biased as well. But I think NFTs also fall into that category of collectibles as well. So there's one avenue of how that makes sense and creating an engagement layer, as Nick says, to bring all these things together and not leaving people kind of in their heads of what's next, but always having something, for them to do next and somehow rewarding them for doing the things they'd be doing anyways. It's probably the best key that I can throw out there for what's kind of next and what the indie games and those folks are looking at today.
Yeah, no, great take. Appreciate you sharing. And exciting times. I think it's this perfect convergence of collectibles booming combined with not just movies coming back, people wanting to go see things in the theaters, but more importantly, new storytelling, new stories, new IP being the ones that are having success, not the 18th remake on a $500 million budget. It's just that to me. It's if a 20-year-old YouTuber can do it, and a 26-year-old YouTuber can do it. You can't convince me that a team like Klanos and Hibu, with all the talent they have and the experience they have and the connections they have, can't tell me that they don't have a shot at this. And so I think of Klanos. I think of what VFriends is doing. I think of Borde Pialka with their anime series. Like, honestly, this what we're seeing happen in the movies now, it makes me a lot more bullish on the Borde Pialka anime series than I was previously. It's just like there's this opportunity now, and I think success often leads to more success in particular categories, particular areas. And I think now that this is happening, does it need to still be great storytelling? Yes, absolutely. The IP matters. I just think you're gonna more people are open to this, open-minded to this. They're going to be interested in checking out the new movie that someone recommended to them versus the remake. And I'm excited for Master Universe, but kids probably aren't. It's like the Scream 7 or 17 or whatever they're on now. Like, they don't care. And Hollywood may feel it's less risky. I think that's going to change. I think there'll be a tipping point soon where they realize spending, $200 million to make $250 million, that's risky. Versus supporting these that are showing traction, that have a following, that they're getting the eyeballs. I think we're going to see a lot more, not YouTube to Netflix. That'll still happen. I think we're going to see a lot more YouTube to big screen. I think we're going to see a lot more of these.
Yep. The studios, speaking to the studios, the licensing expo a couple of weeks ago, a lot of them are kind of lost looking for the next thing. And to an extent, a lot of the IPs in crypto, Pudgy's, BAYC, Azuki, have already kind of like cracked the code in some sense, because like 20, 30 years ago, you needed a show to kind of make it. And these shows need to be distributed on Netflix, Amazon, Paramount, Apple TV, whatever kind of the streaming distributor was at the time, or kind of was more important at the time than they are now, and vice versa. You needed that thing to get situated. You needed that thing to bring in licensing merchandise deals. You needed that to generate revenue, to create fandom, create increased fandom, and all those things. Today, that's not the case. Today, that is not the case. You hit the nail on the head. It'll be going from YouTube to big screen versus back then where it was just kind of straight to big screen in some sense. You're spending 10 million, 20 million production of a show, not knowing if the first 5 episodes that are 30 minutes long are going to actually break any sort of, I guess, fourth wall and get people caring about what you're doing and why you're doing it and the brand and all those sort of things. Today, it's different. Today, you're running shorter scripts, shorter timepiece content, probably 7 to 8 minutes. You may be doing about 10, 15 episodes. You're probably putting that on YouTube, tracking the fandom, tracking the increase in engagement, tracking the IP, tracking the love, all those sorts of things, and then broadening out the IP and putting it in different regions. Whereas back then, that was a whole different conversation. And today, we've recognized that as a team, and other people have done that as well in the space. And this is kind of why we're here, what we're doing. This is why we're bullish on the future of IP growth and incubating all those sorts of things. But the studios right now are totally lost.
So
they're totally lost, and they don't know where to go. They don't know how to get there. And they realize that, we're just kind of making content. And then if that's all we're doing, we're going to die in about 3-4 years.
Feels like a real shift. My question, to put you on the spot a little bit, is I don't disagree with anything you said. And while I agree with everything, we've yet to see major commercial success outside of the crypto world for the NFT native IP. For and I say that not like, yes, I know you could oh well, Doodle's partnered with McDonald's and got all all that's happened, yes. But we've yet to see a major successful Netflix series or a big box office success. To my knowledge, no, like there's been movies made from Web3, funded by NFT mints, and they've hit like film festivals and done some indie stuff. But to my knowledge, we haven't seen box office success yet. And maybe I know that's not necessarily the goal for all.
It's a good take.
But what is it? Just time? Is that it? Because I think everything. I think the how the Klanos, the Chimpers, the Pudgies, I think how they're going about it, growing their socials, gaining that audience is awesome, and the success is there. What goes from what needs to happen to go from Klanos has an awesome social presence that continues to grow. They get great fan engagement. For a lot of people who have no idea about NFTs, all that's happening. What's it going to take from the social media success to this is the hottest Netflix series of the year, or even one step before, like this is the booming the series that everyone's tuning into YouTube to watch. Like, what's missing there? Any thoughts or ideas?
Yeah, good take, Cap. I have an answer for you, but first I'll say you're exactly right, and it's going to sound counterintuitive to what I said before, but at the same time, because content is everyone has it, everyone's doing it, everyone's pushing it out, it is still the lifeblood of the brand. So if content, for whatever reason, in terms of like views, impression count, retention numbers, follower growth, any of those growth metrics, if those start to decline for a brand, it's a very bad sign. Content is a lifeblood of the brand on socials. Period. Insta, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it may be, period. Full stop. The answer to the question is a lot of these brands in crypto, Web3 specifically, have had their hero moments where they had mass audience, mass distribution, probably made a good penny on some of these deals or didn't, or whatever it may be. The problem, as I see it, speaking on myself, maybe not behalf of my team specifically, is that there was nothing to direct them towards. So a lot of the activations that people had in the crypto space have been phenomenal. It's been huge breakout moments. They've had their hero moments. There are no golden bullets, but you do get a bunch of silver ones. You also get some BB bullets. Some teams have used their silver bullets in the chamber, which is great, but there's nothing, as I mentioned, to direct them towards. So like they had the activations, they had these big breakout moments, they had these things, but there was nothing on the tail end of that, or even for long tail purposes, that allowed them to say, okay, this brand has this thing, now go check out this. Cap, it's kind of like you and I are having we're standing outside a bar or something, and we're trying to direct traffic into the bar, but you and I are not hosting an event.
Yeah.
So it becomes this moment of like, oh, sick, cool, this is happening. Or we're kind of introing them to something, but there's nothing at the back end of that for them to kind of look at, stay retained, become an increased fan. The buck just kind of ends there. And if it's not increasingly obvious that they have something more on the back of those activations that can direct them towards it, in my opinion, it doesn't have the full impact of the ROI. Yes, it's a massive awareness play, but was it a fandom creating play? I don't know.
Great take. And I know I'm not trying to pick on them, but it's an easy example because it was arguably one of the largest reach for any of the Web 2 collaborations that be at the McDonald's Cup with Doodles. But I said it then, and I again now. Then what? Okay, they see the IP on the cup, but then what? It's just like bringing them like top of funnel is the top of the funnel. Like the goal is get them to the bottom of the funnel. So how are we bringing? I'm not saying that they need to go immediately buy an NFT. That's not what I'm saying. I think to see some IP on a cup, and please don't hold this against me. Don't take it out of context. It's just it's a real example. It's not this goes for almost all of them, not just Doodles, but this is just again on scale probably the most eyeballs on the IP. There's just no and then what? There's no easy way to pull them into the ecosystem to make them an active participant. I know there was, they did the studio thing and tried with some wearables. I know like Plano's launched their vinyls recently and excited for, those blind boxes. I think like all that stuff. Yes, I think we're still missing the and like what do they do now that the brand has been introduced to? I mean, wasn't planning on going here, but as an example, Rect is doing. They have an and now with their affiliate program. Now, I don't think every NFT PFP company needs to have an affiliate program to help them sell their merch or their vinyls, but very common in drinks, very common in energy drinks to have an affiliate program that's structured like a network marketing company. Like it just makes sense because someone gets they get phase energy, they get the W. I can't remember exactly what they're calling the flavor. It doesn't matter. They're also launching. I pinned up top. They just announced their partnership with Solana. Soulberry is coming June 5th. You can sign up for pre-order on their Solana collaboration. But I think like my whole point here is for the non-crypto native participant, the consumer that finds the brand by way of, you know, a FaZe gaming collaboration, or they find it in their local supermarket. There's an and now. There's something for them to do. Oh, I really like this. This is the best pre-workout I've had in a while. Can I just keep buying it and being a consumer? Yeah, you can. But you also you claimed very simply, you scanned a QR code and you claim some brand coin. Could you just sell that brand coin and pocket $20 as and use it like a rebate? Yeah, you could. Most will. Some might say, hey, I want to learn more about this. This is an interesting model. And I just think that after the purchase, and using Rect as an example, they could claim their brand coin. They could become an affiliate. Like this stuff matters. And I think just like I beat the drum on like more retail holidays. I'll credit Pudgy Penguins. They really seem to be leaning into that now. They did like the Valentine's Day plushie, and leaning into things that have worked at retail for my entire lifetime. Some of that stuff that has worked in the traditional world, that has worked in Web 2, can also work here. Like we don't, to steal one of Steve's favorite phrases, we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, I don't know if that's even the right analogy here, but we're going to roll with it.
I got to jump. The last thing I'll say, great conversation too, and I appreciate the open kimono of it. I'll say this to paint a picture for this. I think Stranger Things did a great job of this, because when they rolled out season 5, it was Stranger Things season 5 with the 5 on the imagery of the design concept. On every license and merchandise product you can imagine ice cream, Oreos, pasta, chips, fucking candy, fucking, everything. It was all over the place. You could not get away from it. And they had the same thing. They had the one thing they wanted you to direct you towards. They wanted you to direct you towards the season 5, which was on Netflix. Because if more people watch it, Netflix recognizes those numbers. They get a bigger payout and all those sorts of things. And they really did a good job, and an emphasis on the 5. If you go back to the design concept and the layout of it, it was Stranger Things 5, and that 5 was like huge, like in terms of like the way it looked and the framing of that design. And they did the right thing. And I don't know how many viewers they got, but I assume through all those products that they had done in the rollout, 6 to 8 months, probably a fuck ton of views. One thing I'll say too on this notion is, like, if you're going to do a massive activation, you probably need to make sure you have a bunch of inventory that's already on stock on the website, DTC, or even in retail, so that there's something for them to spend and kind of buy and do afterwards. Even if you're directing them to more content, I don't think that's kind of enough. They need to be digesting, consuming something, taking part. Obviously, watching content is the first layer of like fandom activity, but afterwards it's content. Afterwards it's product. It's digestion of these things. It's collecting. It's whatever it may be, and that's kind of the next layer. And that's the layer that quote unquote keeps people in business. And it is what it is. And I think doing that the way they had done it was awesome to see that. And I remember sending like all those activations in my Slack channels. I'm like, guys, they literally have branded everything. Even if I don't watch like the show anymore, watch the show, I'm just going to check it out now, because this thing is so in your face for every product.
I know you got to run. One more question for you is, you mentioned like getting that social follower. Is that, while that may not be immediately an active participant, I got to imagine that's like they see something top of the funnel, and then like the next step, like point them down that funnel, point them through that funnel. One simple way to put it would be they actually become a follower that engages, and now they continually see the stuff. Is that, is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair, Cap, but it's kind of like, in my mind, speaking for myself again, the kind of the sales psychology behind it. Like, someone digesting content, we mentioned this before, 80% of people, or whatever the number is, 72%, it's something pretty high, of like YouTube are not subscribed to the channels that they're seeing. And that's kind of a problem, right? Obviously, and studios are looking to fix that. And we mentioned before that collect was a way of doing that. I think the best thing is sales psychology for this. You need to get people in the habit of like collecting, participating, buying things from you. The thing doesn't have to be $1,000, doesn't have to be $100. It can literally be a $2-3 item, $4 item. It could be something that's super tacky. and people should get in the kind of the mindset of the flow. You want to kind of prime the community, prime the audience, whatever it is, especially on those socials, of doing that from you. That, because that buying something is a bigger, quote unquote, I guess, community fandom engagement activity versus just kind of consuming something and walking away, where they're actually taking the active step, putting money towards it, logging out, doing the shipping, all those sorts of things. That's a huge step. There's also this conversation of like these teams, these brands. We've been using this term a lot internally, is like make a program. What that means is like having a shelf or having a ecosystem full of products for the IP. So imagine you go to Toys R Us and you see a bunch of like Pokemon and Pikachus and those sort of things. You're probably drawn into those plushies, those big plush. You're probably drawn literally to those big plush on the program side of things on that shelf. But when you get there, Cap, you're buying the small things. So you're buying the tacky stuff, the small items, the little figures, the little vinyls, whatever it may be. But you are drawn to those big plushes. And I think every team in crypto, if not already, needs to kind of work with the IP that they have or that they're working on, and kind of creating a program like that for the sake of when these massive activations kind of go live. There's an increased layer activity that the fans can't participate in, can do, aside from just kind of like, viewing content, which is great. But you need them for the sake of the way things are running, and this, to take the extra step and buy the $2-3 thing, because that's more high signal than is kind of consuming content, obviously seen through YouTube.
Yep, great take. And Maria reminds me in the chat, I think this is also a great example. I use the McDonald's cup example as okay, then what? You might get one NFT buy out of an activation like that without a direct call to action or a direct funnel or pathway. I think as time goes on, and it's more and more likely that those sort of activations that bring eyeballs either to the IP and brand or back to the IP and brand. I think there's probably a lot of people that got into NFTs were really excited about things that a lot of us still get excited about to this day, but then they got rugged or they bought the top, or for whatever reason, they've just moved on and they're no longer an active participant here. But they remember it, and there's a little bit of nostalgia there. Some it might be negative, but they still remember it. And then fast forward 5 years, someone sees doodles on a Chick-fil-A cup, or they see Bored Apes partnered with Steph Curry and Li Ning with a new shoe activation. I think those people, when it's reminding them of something that they saw years ago, there's probably, for some, there's gonna be this aha moment, like, oh wow, they're still around, they're still a thing. Like, wow, this is, and like, they're like, okay, I'm gonna go check this out. I've forgotten about this stuff. I'm going to go check this out. And you might see people re-enter these ecosystems as active participants. Maria's, to quote her, says, one plus about the McDonald's cups is that that's what brought Stephen Warner back into the ecosystem. He shared that several times. It probably could have fostered growth even further, but that's a huge W, in my opinion, for the space at large. And there's more examples of success. I'm sure that's just one awesome example. Every NFT project has their own unique ways they're moving and growing. Love that. And yeah, I agree. I think that there is a higher likelihood that some of these activations might bring someone who's familiar or was once here. It's like, it's a good, hey, remember us? We're still here. We're still building. We're still doing, we're doing the thing we're now doing the thing we said we were going to do 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm rooting for it. Like, I have no stake in Kibu or Klanos. I do have a Popkins, and I'm a really big fan of the team and of Andrew and the other Andrew and Cab, who frequently shares updates. And you can tell there's a lot of passion about what they're building inside and outside of Web3. I also think once we see one of these brands have that they're the next obsession or backstory, if you're in this space, you better be cheering them on. You better be one of their biggest cheerleaders. Even if you've never held, or you've had some PvP tiffs with some community members, get over that. Like, a win here, a big blockbuster win, is a win for everyone in the space, because it's going to bring a lot more attention and eyeballs to the space at large. And I think now that we've had so many companies like Klanos that have been building behind the scenes, building this foundation for 3 or 4 years, they're close. Like, I don't, maybe it never hits on that level. And very few IP ever will. But there's going to be new storytelling. Now it's the audience, the masses are more receptive. They're saying, hey, we want this stuff now. I just think the door's open. Like it wasn't open in 21, 22. We were still, I mean, I remember vividly having Julian on this show when he was CEO of Doodles and saying how like, hey, no one's going to break through. No one new IP. It's very difficult to break through into to Hollywood because the studios aren't going to take risks on this stuff. They just want to launch Scream 7. They just want to launch another Avengers movie. They just want to remake something that was successful in 1980 because it's easier. It's less risk. I think that most, if not all, studios have had a big wake-up call. I mean, it's been happening, but I think this past weekend was probably, a very pivotal moment. And a lot of them say, okay, we need to start looking at new stuff. What we thought was risky is now not nearly as risky. And in fact, the way we've been doing it and blowing these multi-$100 million budgets, that sounds pretty darn risky. Go ahead, Andrew, get back in here. I appreciate you hanging out longer than you were supposed to.
Last thing I'll say, and I got to jump, and I appreciate the floor and all this stuff. It's an important conversation. And if you want to do an IP panel one day, the way you guys did them a couple years ago, even 6 months ago, I think teams would be all for it. And I think it's definitely needed.
Let's do it.
When it comes back to licensing expo and the experience we had there, it was super fruitful to get data in real time. And obviously you mentioned this before, we rolled out the blind boxes that were made for, Japan retail, APAC retail. We tweeted that, or I tweeted it, Nick tweeted it, posted it on LinkedIn, and a lot of Nick's parading and kind of doing his keynotes, 100 plus keynotes the past 2-3 years. A lot of those people that he's been touching base with and having touch points with and creating relationships with, deep relationships with the animation, entertainment, and kids space. A lot of them with support for Nick and the IP of Klana of what they know in that world, aside from the NFT side and digital collectibles and all those sort of things, were buying the blind boxes on Dilly. And we talked to some of those folks at the Licensing Expo a couple weeks ago in Vegas, and they had no complaints about the platform, said it was super easy to use. They understood it. They love the way that they're operating. They love the live stream component as well. They understand how we did it, why we did it, all those sorts of things. And it was kind of an aha moment for us as well, that obviously that concept of digital collectibles or even selling things online in that regard is becoming the norm now. And you'll see more teams within crypto, within our space as well, that'll be selling products, selling collectibles through those things, the daily platforms, the digital platforms, the collector crypto platforms. That'll happen so much more in the next 2-3 years. And I really do think that the TCG platforms are one of the bigger high signal plays, one of the bigger high signal things in the crypto space that'll get quote unquote normies involved and actually have them stick, opposed to some of the meme coin stuff for obvious reasons, because getting washed on a trade is not great for retention. Who would have thought? But these platforms have product market fit, and even so, a lot of us are also involved in the Pokemon scene from a collectible standpoint as well. And a lot of those folks that we follow on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, whatever, are using these platforms that are quote unquote crypto native or blockchain backed. I think is a better term that we can use, without any spoon feeding, meaning that there's no proper onboarding process the way that we would have to do it with friends and family through Trust Wallet, MetaMask, or even Phantom. They're using these platforms on their own regard without any spoon feeding. And it's super cool to see that take place in real time. And then people starting to understand the space of why blockchain is important and why companies that are blockchain backed have depth to them and can survive the next decade.
Yeah, I agree. The one thought I hear when you talk through that popped in my head that I haven't really thought a whole lot of yet is I wonder how much of a setback, if any, does the TCG space, does the collectible space, does the gacha, the claw pools, the BZs of the world, how much of a step back did they take if, and everything you just described, if there does end up being a quote unquote bubble in the Pokemon world? I think it was Easy was saying that the lead up to the 30th anniversary could be the Pico top, and you might want to consider rotating a little bit out before then. If things, I don't think this is the case. I think that it's very different from the 2021, 22 NFT mania, I think, because this is established stuff, established brands. Might values go down of some of these cards? Yeah, sure. They most likely will at some point. But I think if we go from for the last 12 months, it seems like Pokemon and Wimby cards are up and up and to the right, up only. If they pull back, if there's a correction down 20-30%, and people are underwater, or they can't sell a card that they for as much as they bought it for 2 months ago, I don't think it necessarily stalls momentum of all the stuff we've been talking about the last couple of days. I think it's different because it's not new technology. It's not a new brand or new IP. And so while prices may go down, I don't think it'll have quite the impact that a lot of the NFT native IP brands felt when NFT prices went down, when the proverbial bubble popped and the mania moved from just straight speculation and mania to, okay, now we gotta really build. We gotta build something of value that people want to see and use and collect. I think that it's hard to see a world where people just stop caring about Pokemon. There might be less speculators, but less people looking for a quick flip. I think that's likely to happen at some point, but I don't think it negatively impacts the space at large. The space being those building in the collectible arena, those building in with NFT IP. Andrew, I don't know if you have a quick thought on that before we get out of here, but go ahead.
Last one. I promise this is the last. We said last one.
Oh, good.
I promise this is the last one.
Good chat.
I appreciate it. There's a ton of conversations about that, which is good. Obviously, there is some bubble that has formed. People that probably wouldn't be buying Pokemon cards for 5 years ago in the trough when it wasn't super hot are buying things now. So that's kind of where we're at with that. The Pokemon market is obviously filled with speculators and traders, and I think you need both. And I think that's great for the ecosystem. You can't just have one without the other, because I think the magic of it and the mania wouldn't occur without all three kind of forming into one, kind of the quote unquote secret recipe, which is super nice. The one problem with the collectible space right now is that there's not, now, but it's been existing for a while, is that liquidity is not kind of instant. The same way when you sell a stock, there's a seller and the buyer on the end of that. On the other end of that, meaning you can take your money out, get it instantaneously, whatever, all those sorts of things. The collectible space doesn't have that. I think the platforms we have in crypto actually allow more for that, which is super cool. And I think even if the bubble was to quote unquote pop, and you're probably right, prices will go down for certain things. Vintage will stay vintage. Vintage will always have demand for those reasons, depending on what it is and what people's take on which one that is or what collection it's a part of and what exact card that is. It's up for grabs, but the vintage stuff will have ROI on it always, because it's in its bitches. You can't make any more of it. It is what it is. So that's we'll put a pin in that. But I think even if the bubble does pop, I think people will be looking for instant liquidity or faster liquidity, a faster sell, a quicker sell, more clean, smooth sell that probably doesn't require, eBay 13%, 12%, maybe even sending off the card or whatever it may be. So I think as the bubble pops, I think there will be an increased demand for some of these platforms, because when you're selling something you're trying to get out, you're looking for the quickest way, reason, product, moat to get out. And I think the benefit some of these platforms have is for that exact reason. So I think there will be an increase in engagement, increase in user data, increase in liquidity on those platforms because of the value that it provides, even on quote unquote getting out. It makes it quicker. So
yeah, I mean, great take. I wasn't thinking about that, but in the event of a bubble bursting, it could actually be bullish for platforms like BAYC because it's the fastest place to get liquidity. It's way less friction than trying to sell something on eBay. I hadn't thought that through, but yeah, it could drive even more attention to. And now I don't know as if I just don't know the space that well. I don't know as if if and when there's a price pullback, if and when there's a bubble that pops, I don't think it's as rapid of decline in price / value as there was in NFTs. Part of it because, again, less friction. You could not only list your NFT instantly and sell it in seconds, you also can change the price and undercut the floor in real time. I don't know as if you quite see that same environment in the world of traditional collectibles. And for that matter, it's kind of hard to even know, right? If you go on eBay now and search for, this Snorlax that Dort won the other day, yeah, you get those listings, but it's not nearly as clean from a UI standpoint as you see on OpenSea. it's not as easy to see what is the actual floor. There's a lot more variables when you talk about grading and from raw to what PSA it is, what company graded it. I don't think there is as many listings on average as there might be in an NFT collection. So some good things to think on there. And hey, does it really matter? Like, what does this mean for us? Like, how can we position ourselves if this happens to how do we position ourselves to win? I think it's more of just like, if you're here, if you believe in new IP, crypto native IP, NFT, PFP native IP, I think that there's a lot of things that may not be directly tied to good things happening for NFT, but it is. I think all this is very strong signals. There's an appetite for this stuff, and quite frankly, I don't know if there was a few years ago. I mean, clearly there was an appetite. I don't know if the signals were there. We weren't seeing the box office success from the indie films, the YouTubers. Like, we just weren't seeing that. All we were seeing was, yeah, there might be an appetite, but Hollywood doesn't care. The movie theaters don't care. They're just going to keep jamming down your throat, Scream 17. Ilan, GM, always a pleasure. What brought you up this morning?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I think thanks for having me up, man. It's always awesome to try to catch you in the morning, and these conversations are always really great and engaging, and bring up a lot of ideas. That's why a lot of times I jump up and raise my hand immediately, because what you guys are talking about is very thought provoking, and I think in the context of what we're talking about here, like, there is going to be sort of that holding risk that was identified. I think that, this could very well be a great rotation, right? Because, we've talked about on this show, the amount of the sheer number of these cards that have been printed. Nobody knows how many are sort of out there. The only real sort of knowledge is behind the PSA grading. And so you have companies, like you mentioned, BAYC, and some of these holding companies that are buying, they're buying the graded, and this is all, in the context of some of the grading agencies, pulling back a little bit. And so, there is very, importantly, some, supply and demand dynamics at work here, from, starting new businesses to, new intermediaries to people trying to get in on this wave of collectibles. And obviously when you have...
Ooh, lost you there.
Hey, bro, call everyone trying to tap in. Then again, you have this sort of supply, this surplus, right? And so I think the way that we've been talking about it is it could very well be a great rotation, right, to NFTs, because what are NFTs? They're limited and they're all verifiable. And so when everybody sort of wakes up to the fact that, they're like a lot, particularly on this 30th anniversary thing that Easy was talking about, there are a lot of cards getting printed, and you don't have any idea how many are out there. And so, that again creates this, like, are we paying the right price for these things, right? Are they as limited as we think? Obviously, like the collectible value is one thing, but the speculation value begins to drop off a little bit whenever you start thinking about the sheer numbers of these cards that exist, that were printed. And people start asking those questions, and when those questions start to get asked, then you look at, what are the, verifiable, limited, run existing digital collectibles, because this obviously this move is onboarding a lot of people to the digital world in the context of these collectibles, and that's NFTs, man. So I could very well see all of this coming to a head, the bubble sort of bursting, as we were speaking about a minute ago. But then a lot of people are sort of cashed up. That's what happens. People are cashed up. They go, what do we do? I mean, we do collectibles. Where do we rotate this money? And, NFT seems a pretty logical next step for a lot of these people, especially in the context of the value that NFTs provide.
Yeah, I agree. I still, just like I shared with Andrew, like what do we need to see? What's keeping it from crushing it on socials, from Instagram, TikTok, Giphies? There's a lot of Web3 brands that have been dominating on the social front in terms of growth trajectory and new follows and views. Like, they're as good or better than most, if not in some cases all, Web2 brands over the same period of time. but yet we've still yet to break into a big promoted Netflix series, a Hollywood blockbuster in the theaters. Like, we've still yet to see that. And I do know part of it's time. Like, this stuff is hard. It takes time. And so, like, you could say, like, the foundation's been laid. Now it's just a matter of the thing, right? The actual, the next one of those brands. I'm not trying to single just brands out, but the next time that Klanos or Doodles or Apes or Azuki, Chimpers, the next time that one of them puts out an animated series or a feature length movie, maybe it does pop. Maybe it does go big, because now that we've got 5 years of foundation been laid, and not only the masses but the powers that be seem to be a little more receptive to this sort of stuff. Excuse me in the hiccups there. We've got a few other accounts, new accounts here, but always like connecting with new individuals active in the space. We're going to bring up Merhab here. Oh, we lost you, Merhab. I was trying to bring you up. I've been having Etch has been a little glitchy this morning, but give it another try if you'd like. You might have to take a lap, leave the room, and come back, and we'll give it a take two. Unrelated, we're going to come back. I just happened to see it in the corner of my eye. If you remember, I opened up a long on VVV a week ago, and I'm actually back in the paper gain territory. Long way to go for a 0.06 gain. You can see I opened this. It's not huge, $1,000 position. Opened it at 18,427. The price this morning is 18,579. I'm going to be, I would be lying if I didn't say I was considering closing it and taking the L when it was down, in the 14s. I think at that point it was like a $200-300 loss in terms of the P&L. Giving back, would have been giving up a lot of the gains I made on the Doodle short or the Dude short. But we ran up to 20, and then I opened after I missed it. It ran up to 20. I saw it. I had missed it. It was back down like about where it is now. And so then I did put a take profit in at you can see $20.40, and it's not ran back up there since. But we're back in the black. We've made a whole. If I close it right now, I'm up $2.24. Long perps are not worth it. That's my lesson this morning. It's not worth the if you can't handle the ups and downs, definitely not worth it. I do it purely for the dopamine more so than the gains themselves, because quite frankly, since 1010, I've been not in the gain territory. But I need to feel something sometimes, and I definitely can feel something on the roller coaster that is 10x leverage. There we go. Merhab did join us here. Before I go to our guests again, I do want to quote this from Figgy, following back up to the whole Asia tour and all that's going on there. Figgy says, you might have noticed we've previewed Seoul as a destination for the upcoming APAC tour. Korea is our next area of focus. I've asked Kiki to join us over the next few months to build the foundation of work across our Korean community. We started rebooting comms on Kakao. We're rolling out local content through Kakao channels for Bored Ape Yacht Club, Other Side and Ape. This was quote tweeting, Seoul's been on the Asian tour list this whole time. Now we're turning up the volume on Korea. Korea's Bored Ape Yacht Club community has always been strong. We're showing up more directly on the ground with Bored Ape Yacht Club OG in Seoul helping lead the efforts. You'll be seeing a lot more from us in Korea moving forward. You've got the Kakao community, Apes of Korea. You've got the Other Side Korea community, and you've got the Ape Chain Korea community. More local conversations, more local communities, more Korea. Love to see it. And I think, again, just another example of how Figgy is moving and moving very well. Also, as I go around the highlights here, and then we'll get Merhab in here. BAYC, as I mentioned, another 5 consecutive months of growth. May closed another all-time high, more collectors, more rewards, more reasons to be bullish on where this is all headed. This one belongs to the community. 30 million in volume in May, and just getting started. I'm excited to see where they go since they're as they launch on Solana. I also have some interesting Solana data we're going to talk about here before we end the show today. It was surprising to me, in particular, how dominant Solana is in equities, in tokenized stocks. Dominant, like 97% of the volume dominant, was shocking to me because I think of Hyperliquid and how dominant they are there. And while Hyperliquid is dominant on perps and has the majority of that open interest, their when it comes to stock spot buying and stock spot trading, it's Solana's world. 70 million in monthly volume, 200,000 holders, and I was not aware of that. So while a lot of talk of hyperliquid and it's going to flip Solana and all that, got to give some credit there to Solana dominating the stock trading area. And then last news item, and Merhab, I promise you're on deck here. We're going to you in just a second. Might have to come back to this one. Two conversation. One, Bermuda making big moves, and Stellar. Stellar's been on a ripper recently. We talked about another big partnership they announced not too long ago, and then Bermuda partnering with Stellar to become the world's first fully on-chain economy. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm going to double tap that here in a minute. If we got any Bermuda experts, might be talking to you, Joe Warp Joe, if you're out there. We've not touched on the cigar drop yet, Dobbins, but thanks for reminding me. And yeah, Iceman says it's BZ summer slab season. I agree. And it's like BZ has seriously, I'm not drilling smoke. I'm not glazing BZ because they partnered with us on Coffee with Captain. They don't pay me to say this. They give me a badge and they support our community by, our weekly Coffee with Captain and the monthly community member of the month. They've got me into Pokemon. Like, it's not just a bit of me mispronouncing every other Pokemon character. Like, just as I want to stack some Wimby rookie cards, I want to stack some Pokemon. I think not all, but I think it's hard to see a future where the grails don't continue to appreciate. Now, DeFi Addict on the flip side says, Pokemon announced they printed over 10 billion cards this year alone. That's 12% of all Pokemon cards ever printed. Wild how they're printing so much. I agree. Sounds like a big number. I saw someone refer to that similar to like the junk era in like baseball, football cards where we didn't know and they were just printing. We thought that King Griffey rookie card was sweet, and it was. We didn't realize they were printing millions of them. And while I do agree 10 billion is a lot, it's actually been down year over year for the last 3 years. Not significantly, but it started like 10.8, then 10.3, now just 10 million or billion, excuse me. So it's going down, but I think most of those are not grails. Most of those are fillers to fill out these packs. Most of them are, I guess maybe some people are playing the game. Maybe some people just want to complete their sets. Very few of them are grails. And I think that's one area where sports cards have nailed it. Pokemon, I think, has nailed it when it comes to, while they may print 10 billion, there's a handful in there that the chase items that should hold value, regardless how many commons there are. If they keep the value on their grails, if they limit the one of ones. And I saw one thing that I think it was Top started doing recently. It was not just autographs, not just like a one of one autograph, but the first NFL autograph. I saw a Francisco Mendoza card where it was his first NFL autograph. That's cool. That's a real grail item. That one will be worth more than all the other Mendoza autographs, most likely. That sort of stuff just is, building more strategy into how can you flood the market with 10 billion cards while also having a high end of the market. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of that. But I also do think at some point it's probably inevitable we see some sort of pullback. And let's go. Shout out BZ, Joey, and BZ team for helping get me into Pokemon. Maria loves it as well. Let's do this. I appreciate your patience, Merheb. Great to connect, and thanks for joining us today. What brought you up? What inspired you to want to join the conversation today?
Man, first, thanks for putting me up. Been a big fan for the space, but I don't think I had the chance to join the panel like anytime before. So the first title interests me because I'm a lot into prediction market, but was back and forth in a meeting, and I heard you guys were talking about like the whole IP thing with NFTs. So I want to touch base on that, but first, 2 small comments on what you recently said. Like, big shout out to BZ because, man, they DM'd me, Deshaun, his name, the wizard guy. He DM'd me like early 2025, and they were like building nonstop even before the whole, let's say, TCG trend. And comment on the Solana stocks thing, like, even though with the whole hype domination, and like on the timeline, price wise, and all this stuff, there's a lot of people on CT we're talking still haven't made any trade about hype on hype, and they just talk about it. So to compare to Solana, where everyone, let's say, have a Solana wallet, and it's very easy to, let's say, for me as a crypto guy and want to get into stocks, I won't, let's say, go search anywhere but Solana. So that's why I think the numbers dominate there, because it's easier and you can talk about stuff, but when it comes to doing, that's where Solana show up. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm curious, did you, until we talked about it, were you aware they were dominating so much? I mean, the data I'm seeing, it's 97% of tokenized stock spot trading is on X stocks on Solana, 70 million plus in monthly volume, over 200,000 traders. Like, did you have any idea it was that level of domination?
I am aware of that because of the Jupiter team, because I have a chat with them, and like literally yesterday they DM'd me like to kind of make a video about that to showcase it. I never touched stocks, to be honest. I'm not a big fan. Like it's not my thing. That's why like I'm not very exposed on that. But I knew the number that Solana was dominating this way. Because man, it's insane. Again, when it comes to 0 to 1 on chain, Solana is still, let's say, the easiest tool for CT or crypto native people to go and explore stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, fair. It's still surprising to me. I don't know another way to put it. I just, and to put it, the direct comparison, while they've got 97% of that, well, I think why I'm surprised by it is because while that's like 70 million in monthly volume is not nothing, compare that to 1.43 billion in open interest on Hyperliquid's derivative side, you know, for perps, knowing that Hyperliquid was doing billions of dollars in stock futures, I would have assumed they had more than, and maybe they don't even have that 3%. I'm just assuming that if Solana has 97%, I'm guessing Hyperliquid has the other. I'm surprised there's not more buy and hold type buyers on Hyperliquid. It's interesting to me because I think a lot of their boom was with HIP-3, and you saw like oils and commodities getting traded on the weekends and the evenings, where a lot of TradFi people, they couldn't get that trade in on Saturday night that they didn't want to wait till Monday morning. And I'm surprised after they found Hyperliquid due to, you know, oil trades on the weekend, I'm surprised more of them didn't move into, oh, no, I don't just have to trade oil on the weekends. I can also buy NVIDIA after market hours better than I can on, you know, for my E-Trade account. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, or maybe there's something else I'm missing, but I am legitimately surprised that Solana has 97% of that market.
Like the way how I see it, even though like I don't wanna like talk about something that don't have so much info about, but the way how I see things right now, like you mentioned the TradFi guys that trading on Hyperliquid. I think these same people hold their holdings when it comes to spots in the normal, in the usual, let's say, stock,
probably right,
where they usually trade. You know, they just use Hyperliquid for this specific feature, which is longing, like doing the future when the market is closed on the weekends, because you know with the whole politics and geopolitical event that was happening, they don't intend into holding spots into, let's say, this crypto native app for now, maybe later. So that's how I see it. But
yeah, that's a good take. Those that I'm guessing a large portion of the 200,000 traders, that's 70 million in volume, I'm guessing majority of them are probably crypto natives. It's probably not people moving yet, maybe in the future, but today it's probably not people moving from their E-Trade or their Charles Schwab or their Robinhood account. It's probably not moving that spot stock buying from the TradFi accounts to Solana. Rather, it's probably the crypto natives that maybe weren't trading stocks previously, and instead of going and opening up an E-Trade account or, you know, a TradFi account, like, oh, I can just buy it on chain now. That probably is. So I think where the deeper conversation is, how big of a signal is this for a bullish take on Solana. Solana, and this is, I'm kind of shifting my tone here because I've been kind of bearish Solana for a while. I've been a hyperliquid bull, and I still think hyperliquid to 100. I saw Solana, I think they've had 8 monthly red candles in a row, maybe 9. It's not good. It's not been good. Price action's been pretty brutal. There was a Dip Wheeler post that caught my attention that was, it's like, man, I mean, exactly what I said was, how obvious was this a Pico top for Solana in hindsight? And it was simply that the current Solana market cap is 46 billion. Trump, a meme coin on Solana, had a $75 billion market cap at one point. Like, just craziness we experienced in leading into January of last year. Wild to think about. And so while price action has been down, and you have Pump Fund is profited $1 billion+. I don't want to say extracted. They're a for-profit business. They're allowed to make money. You're right to be frustrated if you're a user and you saw the tease an airdrop and you're expecting an airdrop and that hasn't hit yet. I think you're in your right to be frustrated there. But Solana price action has been pretty rough. For the past year, it's down 50% in the past year. That I got to go back even further so it's actually, now that I think about it, so yeah, January of 25 was an all-time high. I think it was actually November of 24 was all-time high. No, it was January of 25. It got up to $253 per Solana token. And then following the Trump launch, by April it was down to 121. So it got cut in half. It went from 250. I'll just share this tab so you can see. I know this isn't the best chart, but I will. It's like I don't share because I'm kind of embarrassed to just show my quick charting here on the show is just Googling it. If you see, so January 25 all-time high at 253, then the Trump liquidity vacuum and everyone getting rinsed and Libra, all that stuff. By April, down to 122. I'd forgotten it climbed back up to over 200, 240, almost hit all-time high in September. And then we all know what happened on 1010. It had dipped a little bit, but it was still 180, 190. And then the biggest liquidation event in crypto history occurs on 1010. And it's been pretty much down only since. That might have started, I guess, doing the math in my head. Yeah, so I talk about the 8 or red monthly candles in a row. It's been from October on. Like September would have been a green print, and then since then, following 1010, it's been down only. And maybe we found bottom here. Really, it's been about the same price, give or take. It's just been kind of range bound since mid-February. Yeah, there was a pretty precipitous dip from. Does anyone remember what happened between mid-January and mid-February? You can see here, January 17th, it was 144. And by February 14th, less than a month later, we'll just say a month later, it was down to 85. I don't remember what would have caused that pretty deep dip in a month. But then since then, it kind of found bottom mid-February, and it's just been really range bound since. Not positive price action. While it's not been crazy red candles, it's still been monthly closes in the red. I wonder, like, what I've been looking for is what is the catalyst to turn Solana around? Like, I don't think it's going to be memes. I think are there people still trading memes? Yes. Are memes going away? No. Is meme launch pads, is Pump Fund ever going to hit their all-time highs again? I don't think so. I don't think they're good in terms of revenue and in particular new wallets, new users. I think that's ran its course. I just don't, I don't see us getting back in an era of like $50 to $100 million daily runners. I just don't think that's going to happen. So if it's not Pump Fund, if it's not meme coin volume, I know stables are, Solana is making some headway in the stable coin volume, especially when it comes to settling payments. By some reports, they're leading the way there, despite ETH having significant more of TVL in stables. this is the first, like, this idea of them not just leading but dominating 97% of tokenized stock spot trading volume is a massive win. And if we think the world's coming on chain now, what could flip that, or what could slow that lead down would be NASDAQ comes on chain, like their own chain, the Texas Stock Exchange. Like if we see TradFi launch their own L2s or their own chains to do 24/7 stock trading, then maybe that slow, they lose this volume. Now, is it realistic for them to keep 97% of the market share? No, it's not realistic for anyone to maintain 97% market share in probably any industry. But to keep the majority of that, to stay above 50%, if they were to do that, where I see on-chain trading heading, I think that you zoom out across all platforms, that's going to be up only. So, theoretically here, maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but I think if you do see Solana maintain a 50% or more market share, where today again's at 97%, and we see tokenized stocks come on chain, like I think we're going to, it's really bullish for Solana. Like that's theoretically a lot of volume. And again, I genuinely am shocked that they have 97% market share today. Go ahead, Merhab, get back in here.
Yeah, just to compare token price like 2024, 2025, and 2025 and 2026 when it comes to Ethereum, Solana hype. Like right now, Solana is performing like ETH, and hype is performing like Solana during the last 2 years. Like just think of it this way. Even though with these big announcements like Bitwise, an 11 billion asset manager came on chain on Solana, and like still did it move the price? Like barely not, So even with all these big announcements when it comes to domination or new money on chain and all this stuff, but still, let's say people not and when this phase of Zcash and everyone like Mert turning from bull posting Sol to bull posting Zcash, and everyone preferring to hold these securities on Sol, shifted a bit of the sentiment. It's not about the token performance, more of people are buying stuff on Sol, but not the token itself, like similar to ETH.
Yeah, no, great. Another great take. Like transacting on Solana is different than buying the token. I do think I don't understand in great detail exactly how the tokenomics work, but to really dumb it down, I think more volume, more TVL, more users, more wallets. I know it's not directly, but indirectly over a long enough time, I think that is a bullish indicator for price action. I think if you tell me, like, you fast forward 5 years and every month Solana is going to add new users and do more volume on chain, it's hard to see the price going down from where it is today. Now, will it be 1-to-1 and grow? Will the price appreciate as the same percentage as the users do? No, I'm not saying that. I think new user, because like what can the foundation really control? What can the team really drive? Well, it's unless you're buying back the token or burning the token or changing some of the tokenomics somehow, there's not much they can control in terms of price. The market's going to market. What they can control, or what they can drive at least, is bringing on new users, new products, new adoption, and driving more volume, more TVL. Like and then indirectly, I do think that is very bullish for price action over a long enough time frame. Doesn't mean it's not going to be volatile. Doesn't mean it's going to happen instantly, but I think it's a very much so bullish indicator. One of my favorites, Nil, just jumped up on stage. Very curious to hear your take on this, sir. GM, welcome. What brought you up today?
GM, my brothers and sisters. Hopefully, everyone's having a fantastic start to June. I've studied this, so I have takes. So there's this theory, and Rudo, a good friend of mine, clued me into this many moons ago. You all know Rudo. There's this theory of token sinks, where like if you fill up a sink with enough of like a water, right? Essentially, if you plug up the sink, it overflows, right? Now, this idea of a token sink means that the more utilization of a token on an ecosystem, the more chances that liquidity has to overflow and create upward moving price action because the water needs to go somewhere, right? And now you think about the primary platforms that were being used previously on Sol. Number one, obviously, we can't. I mean, it's Pump Fund on the launch pads, right? That's like what was being used last cycle. It was Pump Fund. What was the main transacting denotation on those platforms? The main token was Sol. Now think about the main platforms that are being utilized currently on Solana. You think about Collector Crypt. You think about Fidgetals. Now BZ coming over to Solana and doing transactions in Sol. You think about all the staking platforms like Jito and Marinade, right? Primarily staking Sol. Yeah, they stake their own native tokens, but they're staking Sol on that side. And that's not a price transaction. It's more so on like they have pools that are mixing with Sol and USD and all these other stablecoin opportunities here. So they're not utilizing Sol, they're utilizing USD. The perps platforms utilizing USD. Like you can go on and on. The prediction market platforms utilizing USDC. Like everything right now is transacted with the stable coin. So therefore the sink isn't overflowing, right? There aren't these opportunities for liquidity to flow aggressively to, number one, be dumped into all these platforms through Sol, but number two, also to buy Sol to utilize on these platforms, right? So it's limiting to liquidity sinks in a way. So it's just a very interesting trend that we're seeing adjust right now. And that's why you see Mert and Toli and the team posting directly about the different inflationary metrics that where they're looking to make adjustments, the different proposals that are going on in Solana, like because they understand they have to make some sort of switch because, again, the primary platforms aren't utilizing the tokens at this point cycle. So it's just a very different stage that we're in right now. Do I believe that Sol returns to a good place? Absolutely. You like all for all the reasons you outlined, Cap, like somewhere needs tokenized stocks, somewhere needs to operate on all these different platforms. But right now, it's just not the flavor of the month. So we got to be patient and make sure that, like, yeah, it's accumulation season. And we can hope for Solana to return. I believe it will at one point. But right now, it's just not what people are pushing their effort towards because the platforms aren't utilizing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. And it's not just a Solana thing, to your point. It's most of these blockchains have a token problem, meaning.
Brother, I come from token problems.
Yeah. and like we're talking about like earlier, like, okay, well, how does the NFT IP brands, they grow their following, their socials, their Giphies, like they get all these eyeballs on, they've proliferated the brand. Now what? Like, how do you drive value accrual back to the underlying token? And the blockchains have the same challenge and I'm not here to talk about, I don't know how, I'm not trying to rub salt in a wound, or you say you come from token problems. Like I'll mention, like, Polygon has one of the most successful dApps in all of crypto with Polymarket. It's not correlated with the price action. Like how, and I don't know the answer. It's more of a open-ended question. Like, what do these blockchains do? How do they utilize how do they build more utility or value into the NFT if you're an NFT IP brand? Why, how do you create real authentic demand, not just speculators, not just flippers? Same thing with the token. I don't know if it was easy, we'd see more people doing it, but it's kind of wild to think we're in 2026 and most, if not all these blockchains, there's really not a direct value accrual for their token. And I felt it with Ethereum for the longest time that their model with L2s has just been out of whack. Like L2s can be more profitable from a revenue standpoint than ETH, and ETH is the one securing the entire network. It was way too favorable for the L2s relative to ETH, the token. Again, I don't know the answer, Nila, but it is really kind of got me in a pretzel this morning because it's like it's most of them, if not all blockchains. Like, how do they? I don't know the answer. It's because it's not, you don't own equity in the blockchain. You don't own equity in the network activity. Like they continue to crush it from TVL and new users and wallets, and price could still go down.
It's crazy because obviously the thesis for Ethereum has changed aggressively. Like we've posts from Vitalik. Like it's just they're scaling in their own way. It's because the tech has advanced and they're able to. Right now, the issue with tokens that have legacy and they launched 3, 4, 5 years ago, they're already kind of stuck in their previous cycle mode, right? And the tech gets more efficient. So places, and again, like this isn't salt in the root. I love my Polygon fam. Like 2 years of excellent experience and fantasticness, and now I have a new opportunity, and life's gravy, right? But like the issue with every blockchain beyond just Polygon is now their tech is getting more efficient. So you need less pull to operate, right? You can say this about AVAX. You can say this about Sui. You can say this about Say. You can say this about almost every single blockchain out there. That there is coming to a place where understanding the use case of the token is more important now than ever. That's why you see Zcash running. That's why you see Monero running. That's why you see Near running. That's why you see Stellar running. Like, because they have this unique use case where the liquidity is flowing in a unique way, right? Where it's flowing back into revenue and it's flowing back into buybacks or burn rates or whatever you may say. And that's why, like, self-plug, that's why we're focused at what we're focused at Blockworks right now, right? Like, there is no understanding for what tokens are supposed to do right now. And the effort that we're doing with the token transparency framework, and we just announced the alliance last week of all these people who are coming together for more disclosures and transparency around tokens, that needs to be a priority in our space, or else we'll never survive. I still believe in a world where ICOs become more reliable and more effective than IPOs, but it doesn't come here by just doing the same motion that we've done for the last 5 years. It comes with fully understanding that if we want to build trust, we must build transparency. We have forgotten that. So we need to return to those purposes. We need to return to disclosing who our investors are. We need to return to understanding what unlocks look like and what burn rates look like in a public forum, right? 2 weeks ago, we hosted Jito as the first quarterly call, right? If you compare it to like something that happens in the ICO and IPO and traditional stock world, it's earnings calls, right? But there's not earnings here. It's just an overview of what their ecosystem is doing. The market responded very well to that call, right? And it's not saying that it was our thing that we did and we made token. No, it's not about that. It's about that the market screaming at us that we need to disclose more. And the teams that disclose the most, Jito, ton of momentum with their JTX platform, disclosing everything left, right, and center, bringing Solana into the future of the direction it needs to go to. Those are the teams that are going to win. It is a foregone conclusion with my mind that you must disclose, you must be honest, and you must be more transparent, or we're going to be stuck in the same cycle for 5 more years and be pissed when we come back to this because our feet are going to be in the mud.
Yeah, man, a great take, and I love the passion, and grateful you're in the space. Appreciate all you do to push it forward, and I agree. This stuff's important. You know, you mentioned like earnings call. By the way, Broadcom earnings is today. They're projecting about 140% AI revenue growth, and could be the biggest AI earnings call since NVIDIA's blowout last month. You also to tie it back to like earnings and the you know, the TradFi comparison. I know we're not there yet, but I wonder if we can continue to move forward from a regulatory standpoint. I wonder if these things can be, if there is a way for them to legally, compliantly share in revenue, pay maybe it's not called a dividend, but something similar to where that's part of the utility of holding said token is, hey, staking is now legal. You're going to stake this stuff. You're going to earn really, really good yield because we're making money. We're growing our users. I know that like, hey, that's done today into some regard. You know, you can stake them all today and earn a piece of yield. But I don't understand for all of them where that yield is coming from. You know, that it is part of the profit share. It's coming from their earnings, coming from the revenue, or it's just emissions. You know, Dobbins in the chat says, and Dobbins, I promise we will, before we get you out of here, I will hit on the the cigar box raffle, but that is because he mentioned that his issue with Solana is it's inflationary, and that's fine if we have a clear idea of what is the model, what is and unfortunately they're all different, right? It is pretty complex. Even those of us who have been here, like you could go survey everyone in this room, explain to me ETH tokenomics, and you probably get 100 different answers. Like it's not very straightforward. And that with the majors, let alone you start thinking about these, down the chain in terms of size and scope and market share. Real quick, because we were talking Polymarket, I said one of the most successful dApps, and it is by objectively. I had the title earlier. Is Polymarket a scam? It's not a scam per se, but I do think they have some real PR issues right now. I just want to hit on this before I get to our other guests here. Another new one in Massimo joining us today. Good to connect. The issue I was referring to is, here's a few posts. I'll just scan through them, and probably won't get into a deep conversation on this today, but I do think a real issue on how they're resolving some of this stuff. And this one in particular was, will MicroStrategy sell Bitcoin by May 31st? And this person says they were scammed for 500K. Here's what happened. Polymarket had a market of whether Strategy would sell Bitcoin this year. It broke down by certain dates: May 31st, June 30th, December 31st. There were also two markets in 2025 that resolved to no due to no sales occurring. The exact wording of the rules: this market resolved to yes if MicroStrategy sells any of its Bitcoin by 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on the specific date in the title. Otherwise, this market will resolve to no. The primary resolution source for this market will be information from MSTR and on-chain data. However, a consensus of credible reporting will also be used. I began betting a few days before when Strategy first deposited 30 million of Bitcoin into Coinbase Prime. I went through all the on-chain data, checked out all the past wallets and transfers. The picture was clear. They had never done this before, so I placed a few yes bets with 5K. The market was still open on June 1st, Monday, when Strategy's 8K was due to come out. Clearly, you would need the 8K to know if Strategy sold, and they always issue these on Monday. It came out that they had, in fact, sold 32 Bitcoin for the first time in over 3 years. The market instantly went to 80 cents. I decided to bet here because the rules specified sale within the time frame, and MicroStrategy's 8K that Strategy just issued legally confirmed they did exactly that. Objectively, this is a true statement. MicroStrategy sold Bitcoin before May 31st. However, the market didn't resolve. I was a bit uneasy, but I thought about it as a trader. I had a duty to place maximum size on mispriced bets. I reread the rules, sale before May 31st, reread the 8K, MicroStrategy sold the Bitcoin. The market was open and trading, so I jammed. Goes on to say, now the fact that people are willing to give me 20 to 25 cents on the dollar for an event that was 100% certain was certainly a red flag, but I checked and rechecked the rules. They were explicit: sale. Strategy legally issued confirmation. Market was open and trading. Later, Polymarket added clarification. No information from MSTR, on-chain data, or consensus of credible reporting confirmed that MicroStrategy sold Bitcoin within the market timeframe. Confirmation achieved outside of the market's timeframe does not qualify. This was straight up not part of the rules. It was not written down in the market. It did not make sense. And most of all, Polymarket didn't even believe it themselves. Why? Because if true, the market would have closed on May 31st. The market didn't close. In fact, here's where it gets fishy. Polymarket specifically waited until the 8K was filed to resolve the market. Their sharps could fill 6 figures against people betting on a confirmed outcome. Then they could add a new role and scam all the newcomers. It was simple, straightforward, and dirty trick. I've been scammed before, so I understand that some of the element is charged to the game. But this is clear insider abuse from a giant crypto platform. I supported Polymarket for years because I believe they represented crypto values. In fact, the platform is simply another bucket shop where if you bet too much, you're going to get cleaned. It's disgraceful that your employees would scam for such low amounts. I don't know, if there's real confirmation that insiders did trade on this, employees traded on this. I doubt it. But it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It's very. I agree with the original post here that it's my interpretation of those rules is they did sell Bitcoin before the date that's been confirmed. What I guess Polymarket is saying is they didn't get that confirmation until after the date, but that wasn't the rules. So this is, rules are important. The terms of these markets are very important. You need to understand the terms if you're betting on mentions or anything that's time bound or date bound. But in this case, I agree with the original poster. It seems like pretty clear that it hit in the terms described, and I feel for those that took a bath on this. That's all I really got on that topic. Sorry for the deviation or the derailment there. I wanted to hit on that. We're going to get to our guest here on stage, and then Dobbins, I will wrap with this cigar raffle and the mechanics and what got shared yesterday, although it's not finalized, not official, more of ideation, building in public. But before we go there, Massimo GM, appreciate you joining us. Good to connect. What brought you up this morning?
My guy, I often listen to your space as a listener. I love the topic. I love what Neil was saying about tokenization issues. And I hear this thing, quite often. People often say that Solana or whatever token have no real value, and they are completely right. But in my opinion, people are complaining about the wrong thing. A token on Solana, I use this example quite often. A token on Solana is like a ticket for a concert. But it's a ticket for a concert for a band that doesn't exist. And Solana specifically made it so cheap to print these tickets that now everyone can buy, sell this token. And whenever someone is selling those tokens, it's only with the hope that the next person will buy it for a higher price. And in my opinion, that's not a token's failure. The token per se, the only thing that the token is a ticket. Value per se can't live inside the token. It flows backwards into it from something that the token has an actual claim on. And so it can be, real revenue, access for whatever, in real life assets and whatnot. And the test, to me, the test is very simple. If you could never resell a token, would you still want to hold it? The answer for all the tokens is no, because the token shouldn't have any value. I think we miss a piece for the longest time in Web3. I don't know if people are ignoring it, purposefully. My tongue doesn't work, or it's just something that people don't think about. But generally speaking, Solana is at $80 not because it's worth $80. Solana is at $80 because people keep trading and they think that that's Solana's value. And I think we miss a small piece in Web3 that I'm 100% convinced that sooner or later we will find a way to put it together. But thank you for having me, Captain. I changed my name. My name before was Aesthetica. I saw Mereb here, George, that I know for the longest time. Of course, I know you for the longest time. You are in Web3 since forever. But thank you for having me.
No, thanks for jumping up.
Sorry, I just wanted to say this because I had to put it out of my chest.
Appreciate you jumping up, and thanks for sharing. I just gave you a follow on the new name here, and good to connect. Always, this show is very much so a community-driven show. Almost every single day, we have individuals from the community jump up, and they're much more of a subject matter expert on something than I am, or quite frankly, they'll often bring on Andrew's a team member. He works with Klenos, or a founder or CEO. Figgy, CEO of Yugo, joined us yesterday, impromptu, not scheduled, just because of some other communities, hey, we're talking about this, and next thing you know, they're on the stage, and it just without a doubt adds value to the conversation. And whether it's the first time you've jumped up on stage or you're here every day, really do appreciate all of you. Shout out to Joey, who kicked things off this morning, as he often does, getting the gets the guest juices flowing. Greatly appreciated. Dobbins, I'm not keeping you on ice. I will hit on the weighted raffles here soon. But before I do that, I also didn't want to forget about, I shout out this Doodles. The Doodles Mint's on June 4th, so it's coming up in 2 days. I'm not familiar with Mondrian Estate, Piet Mondrian. Wikipedia tells me that Piet Mondrian was a Dutch painter and theoretician who is regarded as one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. He was one of the pioneers of 20th century abstract art, and he changed his artistic direction from figurative painting to increasingly abstract style until he reached the point where his artistic vocabulary was taken down to simple geometric elements. Mondrian's art was highly utopian and concerned with a search of universal values and aesthetics. Proclaimed in 1914, art is higher than reality and has no direct relation to reality to approach the spirit. So an abstract artist, he lived from 1872 to 1944. And this drop is in partnership with, or collaboration with, the Estate. It's the first ever approved digital collection from the Estate. 7 iconic reimagined compositions, 3 drops, 2 museum quality prints. It's going to be dropping exclusively on OpenSea. You can see drop 1 is a collector blind box, 555 editions, 5 artworks. Drop 2, coated pink print, 150 editions. And then drop 3 is a focus print with 150 editions. Additional details at OpenSea. You can see some of the images here. So cool. For OpenSea history being made here. This is here's the OpenSea mint page. You can also get a free VV digital collectible with every purchase. I'm not sure where VV comes into play here. It's dropping on OpenSea. It's on mainnet. So I don't quite understand the VV tie-in, but you do get a free VV collectible if you mint one of these. And again, that goes live on June 4th, so on Thursday this week. And OGs get first in line to mint, is my understanding. So more on that. We may follow back up with the highlights. But last but not least, Dobbins had asked about the cigar box raffle. This is what Figgy shared yesterday. An effort for OGs to get preferential access to limited drops. We're going to put weights on this raffle. There's 50 cigar boxes with cigars that are going to go out here soon. Here's what you hold. What you hold should matter, and hold time should matter. Board Ape Yacht Club will get more weight than mutants. Time held will get a lot of weight. Even doggos will get some weight. Example: a mutant held for 5 years should get the same weight as a ape that's been holding for a week. I saw a lot of people take this as a negative. I didn't take this as them. And again, it's also just an example. This isn't set in stone. But I didn't take this as them devaluing mutants to apes, but rather a mutant that you've held for 5 years is going to carry more weight than a mutant that was bought last week. So I don't, and I saw a few people that thought this was bearish mutants. I think the opposite. I think it's, especially for the collectors, those have been holding, and this is collectors collect. I think he's really been bringing home the importance of collecting and time held. I think all that matters. All that's important. He did say, we'll do this by having people signing with their glyph wallet for the raffle. More on this in the next few days, but kind of like the Arsham drop, it's a bit more complicated. So we might have to ship top of next week. It'll be productized, so we can do this for future limited drops as well. So yeah, I think this is a good thing. I think we were earlier talking about collector profiles and really rewarding those collectors. I think this is another step in the right direction. And I'm not telling you how to feel. I just think that I saw Nash and a few other mutants that have been mutants and holding for a long time that thought like this was, I think I can quote like, man, the disrespect or this like slap in the face. Like I hold a mutant that I've held since Mutants Minute. I hold an ape that I've held since Ape Minute. I've held both for a long period of time, and I think it's good. I took it as like, for me, I read it as, the mutant that I've held since Mutants Minute is worth more than an average mutant because I've held it for 4 years, 5 years, however long ago they minted. It'll be 5 years in August, I believe. Anyways, that's that. We'll probably hear more when they finalize the exact mechanics, the exact rate weightings. But I do think that raffles for this sort of stuff, for limited drops, is a much better way to go about it. When you can't run, if you're not going to be able to produce 30,000 to where every ape and mutant could get something, or even say, I don't know how many unique holders there are now. Let's say 15,000 or fill in the blank. If you're not going to be able to produce 10,000 a thing, if there's only going to be 50 or 100 or 200, instead of it just making a rush, even though it's gated and only holders can mint, it's a member exclusive, you're still going to have members that are upset if they didn't get it because their token proof didn't connect in time, or they just weren't as fast as someone else. I think not only limiting quantity of one, so you don't have someone getting in there and buying 40 of the 50 and then just reselling them for extreme premiums on the secondary market. But I think this is a positive step. It's not the end of it, but things like collector profiles, time held, it should matter. And I think this is a good first step. And I appreciate him ideating. Is maybe some of this there, while it's not finalized, they'll take some of the feedback and maybe that will impact on how they actually roll this out. Kizzy adds, the people who paid more for the mutant than the current value of the ape is what irritates older holders. Yeah, I don't know. Again, not saying everyone can feel how they want to feel, but those same people that paid 12 ETH for their mutant, there's also people that paid 120 ETH for their ape at that time, or 60 ETH for their ape. So it's like, I don't think you can factor in, it's not Yuga's fault if someone bought the top. It's not Yuga's. I don't think what you paid should be weighted at all, but time held matters, right? I do think that is how long they've been in the club, how long they've supported the club. Tenure matters. It's not just a crypto or Web3 thing. I think that it's not uncommon to reward longer tenure than shorter tenure. And if someone paid more, like, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And it's across the board. It's not I don't think they should incorporate that into weighting. If someone paid more and they're upset about that, I don't say this to be mean or rude. If that's something they're still upset about, that they paid 12 ETH for the mutant, they probably should think about selling their mutant and moving on. And I'm not trying to drive people out of the club, but it goes with any of these, whether it's apes or pudgies or doodles, or if you bought something high and it's worth less today, and and you're still have some level of angst regarding that, or you think you deserve some preferential treatment because you paid more for it, I don't think you're going to get that sort of treatment anywhere. And if it's causing you stress or anxiety, it's probably best to just to sell it and move on. And maybe some people are like, hey, I'm not going to sell it because I believe price is going to go up in the long term, and I'll wait until there's a pump to sell, and that's fine. But when it comes to stuff like this, rewarding collectors, rewarding loyalty, I feel pretty strong. I don't think they should take into consideration how much someone paid, and if they paid more, they get more value. Now, if you want to talk about royalties, if they participated, if they paid royalties when they, maybe that's something that could be taken into consideration. But I don't think purchase price should. Just my opinion. All right, long show today. We've run a little bit long, 2 days in a row. Only 20 minutes today, not quite as long as the 45 minutes yesterday. But really enjoyed the conversations. A couple of topics that seem to be pulling on some heartstrings, getting some people excited, passionate, and again, I'll close with my legitimate shock that Solana owns 97% of tokenized equity volume when it comes to spot trading. 200,000 holders is also pretty impressive. Like, people are like, oh, there's 10,000 people active here. 200,000 people are holding, or 200,000 wallets are holding stocks on Solana. If you would have asked me before I saw the number, I would have guessed 20,000. So I think that's a really big number relative. It's something that's pretty new, and maybe it is bearish on crypto. Maybe it's bearish because, like, all those people that were in the trenches trading meme coins are now collecting stocks I don't think it's bearish. I'm just saying like maybe there's you could build a case around it's bearish Solana the token that you have 200,000 people holding stocks on their network, but I don't think that's the case. I may double tap on this one. We might dive a little deeper. Other news to send you off on your way. Relative to all this, recently the CEO of ICE, which is the parent company of the Nasdaq, called Hyperliquid bigger than the Nasdaq. I'm sorry, they're ICE is the parent of the New York Stock Exchange. Excuse me. But validating DeFi perps, hype, as we mentioned, not only hitting all-time highs this week, consecutive every day since that ETF's been live, has been net inflows, and that's just it's a really big deal. Keep eyes out if you are trading stocks. Keep your eyes out on Broadcom today with their earnings report, and we didn't really hit on the sailor selling Bitcoin. Wild to me that such a 32 Bitcoin, it's a rounding error. It's wild to me that caused gained so much attention in the space. And I'm not saying that's what sent Bitcoin down. I don't think, maybe a little bit related, but I think it's more than the sale of 32 Bitcoin is he's not buying, at least not right now. And if strategy is going to slow down their buys or not be a net buyer, who is the new buyer? I think it's something that is worth thinking about. But there's some more technical bearish bullish indicators on Bitcoin. The 73 and some change, 75K, kind of a critical reclaim zone. Below 70K opens to 68. I do think I think there's a very real world where Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Bitcoin down 4% on the day, by the way, 68, 172, lost 69K. I think there's a world where they have a rough summer. Maybe go down further from here, maybe just chop from here. But I could see Bitcoin not having a great summer while things like Hype, maybe Solana, maybe other tokens could win with Bitcoin just losing more dominance. But we'll see. We won't run out of things to talk about, that's for sure. But appreciate everyone who joined today. Thank you to everyone in all the chats from Abstract to YouTube. If you're still over there and you haven't yet hit that like and subscribe on YouTube, would ask you to do that as we play out here. And we'll be back tomorrow. We have guests tomorrow, Thursday and Friday this week. So we're going to keep the combo flowing. We'll be back tomorrow, as always, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Appreciate y'all joining us, especially our new guests today. It was great to hear some new voices, as well as hear from some OG legends like Nil and Joey. Appreciate you all very much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.